Close your eyes and picture the person you thought was invincible. For most of us, it was the man who could carry the world on his shoulders, or the woman who seemed to have a manual for every crisis. When you were 5, they weren't just people. They were architects of reality. Your father was the king of all kings, a giant whose shadow protected you from every monster under the bed. Your mother was the almighty power, the one who could heal a wound with a word and silence a storm with a look. You didn't just love them, you worshipped their competence. You believed they had the blueprint. You believed they were finished products, carved out of stone, existing solely to guide you through the dark. But then the years started to bleed into each other, and the pedestal began to crack. You started noticing the tremor in their hands, the hesitation in their voices, or the way they looked at the bills on the kitchen table when they thought you weren't watching. That's the most terrifying realization a human being can have. The gods are just people. We spend the first 2 decades of our lives blaming our parents for what they didn't give us, acting as if they were supposed to be seasoned experts at a game they were playing for the very first time. We hold them to a standard of perfection that we ourselves could never meet. We shame them for their trauma. We resent them for their mistakes. And we carry a list of grievances like a spiritual anchor, dragging us down into bitterness. But here's the kick in the teeth you need to hear. Your parents are living their first lives too. They didn't get a rehearsal. They didn't get a manual. They were tossed into the deep end of the ocean while you were strapped to their backs, told to swim while they were still trying to figure out how to breathe. They were children yesterday, and suddenly they were responsible for the soul of another human being. They were broken people trying to put you together, using shards of themselves they hadn't even finished gluing back together. Think about the sheer weight of that. Imagine the pressure of being the almighty when you feel like a hollow shell. Some of you learned this by hardening your hearts. You looked at their flaws and decided they weren't enough. You decided that because they didn't give you the emotional security or the financial head start you wanted. They failed. But you're judging a marathon runner while you're sitting in the bleachers. You're criticizing their pace without realizing they've been running with broken ankles and a backpack full of their own parents' unhealed wounds. The reality is that for many of our parents, survival was the only goal. They couldn't teach you how to fly because they were just trying to keep your feet on the ground. They couldn't give you emotional intelligence because no one ever sat them down and told them their feelings mattered. They were operating in the dark, and you're mad at them for not finding the light switch. This is where the transformation happens. This is where you stop being a victim of your upbringing and start being the architect of your future. To love your parents deeply is not to ignore their flaws. It is to see those flaws and realize how they are the battle scars of a person who was just as lost as you are right now. When you realize that your mother was a girl with dreams that she had to bury to feed you, or that your father was a boy who never got told he was proud of, the resentment starts to feel heavy and useless. Why would you carry the weight of shaming someone who was already carrying the weight of the world? Shaming them doesn't fix your childhood. It just poisons your adulthood. It keeps you tethered to a version of them that doesn't exist anymore, and it keeps you from becoming the person you were meant to be. The kick is this: if you want to be better than them, stop complaining about what they didn't do and start doing it yourself. If they didn't give you love, be the source of love. If they didn't give you discipline, build your own iron will. You are the legacy of their struggle, not the victim of their mistakes. Your life is the opportunity to heal the lineage. Every time you choose forgiveness over bitterness, you aren't just helping them, you are liberating yourself. You are breaking a chain that has likely been rattling for generations. Your parents were pioneers of their own lives, navigating a wilderness without a map. They tripped, they fell, and sometimes they dragged you down with them. But they stayed in the woods. They kept moving. Stop waiting for an apology that might never come from a person who doesn't even understand what they did wrong. They were reacting to their own pain, their own scarcity, and their own fear. They are just as broken as you, just as confused as you, and just as desperate for a second chance as you are. When you finally accept that they are just human beings on their first lap around the track, the world changes. The anger evaporates. You realize that the almighty power was just a person doing their best with the 20% they had left at the end of a long day. That realization is the ultimate power move. It's the moment you stop being a child waiting for a hero and start being the hero you needed. Forgiveness isn't a gift you give to them. It's a weapon you use to cut the cord of the past. It is the most motivational act you can perform. It says, I am so strong that your mistakes cannot define me. I am so capable that your lack of guidance cannot stop me. Look at your parents today, not as the giants you once feared or the failures you now resent, but as fellow travelers. They are tired. They are aging. They are living their first and only life, just like you. Love them for the effort. Forgive them for the errors. And then take the torch they've been clumsily carrying and run faster than they ever could. That is how you honor them. That is how you transform. That is how you win. Now that you're ready to get moving, you need to know how to properly fuel yourself on this journey. Watch this video of mine to learn how to find a better fuel source than hate, a permanent fuel source to push you further on your journey through life. Thank you for watching.